RigidMount is a mounting block manufactured by Wausau Siding Systems built on LP SmartSide trim. They provide a mounting surface for items such as pipes, electrical outlets, lights, and vents. RigidMount comes in many standard sizes and profiles for common applications and can be further customized to accommodate most any scenario. RigidMount features an integral drip cap that protects from moisture intrusion and a built-in nailing flange for hidden fastener installations. RigidMount is produced so the wood grain appearance runs parallel to the grain on the adjacent siding. The trim is fastened securely to the block with stainless steel staples. This block specifically is the split RigidMount, which allows the block to come apart for remodel applications. Select the block for the type of fixture to be mounted. Ensure that the penetration is properly flashed and/or sealed before beginning the installation. For certain items, some cutting may be necessary for fitment for your specific situation. Begin by preparing the proper RigidMount for the application needed. Here we are showing a few ways to modify the split RigidMount. Some jobs require a smaller mounting surface for light fixtures than the universal RigidMount size. To accomplish this, you can screw the mount to the work table and use a hole saw to cut a larger hole that fits a metal electrical box. Or if using a jigsaw to allow larger items to pass through the mount, be sure to cut from the back so as not to mar the finished surface. Cuts should always be resealed with touch-up paint. After preparing the split RigidMount, remove the loose lower half of the mount. Set this aside till later. For remodel applications, it may be necessary to cut the bottom of the placement flange in order for this to slip over certain items, such as gas or air conditioning line sets. Feed the pipe or other application through the rectangular flange hole. Today we will be installing the split RigidMount around this hose bib, but installation is nearly the same for all the RigidMounts. Set the mount into position and mark the weather-resistive barrier at the outside edges of the flange. Then mark near the nail holes, about 1/2 inch above the built-in flashing. Remove the mount and slit the weather-resistive barrier horizontally, slightly wider than the top flange across those marks, creating a flap in the weather-resistive barrier. Next, install the RigidMount by slipping the top of the nailing flange under the weather-resistive barrier flap. Set the mount at the correct elevation, level, and fasten the RigidMount to the wall, filling every hole in the nailing flange. Hand-driven, galvanized roofing nails are required for fastening. Inch 3/4 storm guard ring shank nails from Mays are recommended. Place adhesive flashing tape over the top RigidMount flange, making sure to cover the nailing holes. Fold the flap down and seal the slit in the weather-resistive barrier with compatible building tape. This shingle fashion installation helps shed bulk water out and away from the structure. Then install the lower half of the split RigidMount by applying a small bead of color match sealant to the joint as shown. Then slide the bottom half back up until the joint is tight. No fasteners should be needed to secure the lower half of the split RigidMount. Pre-drilling the holes is recommended when securing the fixture. Make sure to seal cut edges of siding with provided touch-up paint and install siding around the mount by leaving the proper spacing between the RigidMount placement flange and the siding. A minimum 3/16 inch spacing is required. Note that the top course of siding should be cut 3/8 inch above the built-in flashing as measured from the face of the siding. This area should be left uncaulked. Finish by applying sealant to the space between the wall penetrating material and the RigidMount. apply sealant starting approximately ½ inch in from the top corner, then working your way out down the side and across the bottom. Sealant should meet ASTM C920 specification. DAP spec line 920 is recommended. DAP has matches for all Diamond Kote colors. For more information, connect with us online.